Get the stash going.
Yo, yo, yo. Welcome to Around the Comiverse, episode 41. We got Crypto Rain. We got special guests, Sleeping Comics. We got Dr. Stuff and the real Randy Chavez. Woo!
Hello, Daddy.
What's up, fam?
So, Sleeping Comics, we've been on the stream many times with all these other guys. Can you please introduce yourself to like potentially new audience?
Sure. My name's Sleeping Comics. I have a YouTube channel where I talk about comics.
Awesome.
I sometimes talk about me sleeping, but I try to avoid that as much as possible. But obviously, about 2 years ago, like a lot of people, I kind of found Veve and obviously some of these other great NFT projects. But since I'm more of a Marvel guy, I've really been following Veve a lot. And so I talk about various things on my channel. More specifically, I do talk about the various comics. And then I have a website called veverank.com, which kind of highlights my thoughts. And I have a tier list of each of the comics. So that's basically it in a nutshell.
Awesome. No, that sounds great. I've been checking out your channel. I subscribed to you yesterday. Oh. I thought I was already subscribed, but if you guys haven't already, go check out Sleepin's YouTube and subscribe. Everybody that's on this show is always linked in the description, guys. I always want to give a shout out to the awesome guests we have. Just going through the comments at the moment. Who's excited for October?
October.
This guy.
Can't wait. Shout out to Ernie Malice saying 6 p.m. in Ohio and Michigan still sucks.
Let's see if October plays out that way. So many people are now expecting it that I'm like, it makes me skeptical because the market often does the opposite of what so many people are thinking.
Ooh, we're getting a little bit of feedback.
I saw the Ethereum Futures get approved, and why aren't my bags pumping? Somebody tell me why my bags aren't pumping.
So when does that go live? Does anybody know? The ETF Futures.
I don't know. They got approved today, right?
Did it?
Yeah, it got approved like 5 hours ago.
Futures doesn't usually pump price. It'll sometimes tank price because now they can actually short it better. So futures ETFs aren't necessarily a good thing. Personal opinion. Okay. When the Bitcoin future ETF was approved, the market tanked in 2017 that day and the day after. So it was then used to short it and destroy the market. So it's like, I don't know, the timing, it's too low to really be shorted. Like it's not at a top, so the timing is different. But often the reason why I think they approved futures ETFs over spot ETFs is so it could be shorted and the price could be manipulated downward, is my guess. That's what adds up to me.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you for clarification.
Spot ETFs, they have to actually hold it. And when spot ETFs are approved, then massive holding happens and the price pumps. So spot ETFs will be a big deal.
Awesome. We had a comment from Mark about sleeping, does not sleep in the thumbnail. All the thumbnails are cyberpunks that I've made using Midjourney, and I use them based on a real image. But, you know, Midjourney does its thing, and then we sort of pick one that's fun to play with. Woo! The crew is growing. Yeah, that's awesome. So Sleeping, I want to dig in a little bit on your comics. Is there any Veve comics that are coming up soon that you're interested in?
I mean, we've actually had a lot of the big ones. I think there's a couple more that we could see. You know, now put me on the Hulk 181, which is the first appearance of Wolverine, which. I should have grabbed something. Well, I have one over there. The X-Men #1, I think, is a big one people are looking towards. That's first appearance of like Magneto and Professor X, etc. So we have one of the big ones, which is giant size X-Men already. That was like first appearance of Storm, Colossus, Nightcrawler. So X-Men #1 is a big one that's coming. Captain America #1, of course, first appearance of Captain. That's a big one. Really expensive one and hard to find in the real world. So I think there's still some good ones left, and we'll see. You know, we'll see what we get. And I think more people are going to now. Once we get, I think all the grails kind of eventually, obviously, we'll see them. Then it's going to be different types of chases, right? You're going to chase, I want to get, the first 10 of Amazing Spider-Man. That's a big one in the real world that people try to do. Or, of course, the first 10 of the X-Men. That's another big run that people try to put together. So it'll be different types of things. And then there's smaller arcs that people like, well, actually, we have some of the good ones, right? But whatever it might be, the Days of Future Past, those two, we have those on the app. That's what one of the arcs that I was thinking of, or the entire Phoenix, which we have kind of bits and pieces of that arc. So it'll be a different type of chase, I think.
And is there any comics that you've already got that you're still stacking in the secondary?
Oh, I'm stacking everything.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean,
you're making use of the bear market.
Yeah, I mean, not financial vice or whatever, all that nonsense,
Sleeping can answer that question.
I just think that it comes down to kind of your belief in NFTs and blockchain and all the things that you guys do a great job talking about. Is the kind of world going to kind of move to a more digital world and find these types of things worthwhile? I do. I think they are going to be worthwhile. So therefore, the first appearance of Iron Man is, that seems like some people are going to want that. And there's only, 10,000 of them. There's only 6,000 of the commons. Feel like there's going to be like 6,000 people in the world that really want to have that comic. That's just my opinion. So yeah, I've been stacking that one. And
you don't have access to the Veveverse, do you?
No Veveverse access for me.
Yep, not yet.
But I mean, it's, and I've talked about this on my channel. You guys talk about this, do a good job of it too. It's just kind of, comics is this weird intersection of nostalgia. Obviously, there's an investment element to it. And it's fun because you don't have to stack always the grails. There's this kind of speculative element of it, which is kind of fun, which is what my original channel that I started, years ago, Sleeping Comics, that's what it was about, was more about these comics are sleeping. They could grow in value. And so trying to speculate on what you might think. So in the real world, there are comics just like on Veve that are worth $2, $3, $5. So it's fun to stack those. So, a good example of that would be, I don't know, I'll make one up. Iron Man 9. Iron Man 9 is the first. We don't have that one. That's the first appearance of Riri Williams, who we saw in the last Black Panther movie. So if you're buying those comics, stacking those up, when she made her way into the MCU, and it looks like she's going to be a big character going forward, those comics, just like, collectibles and other things, went from, $2, $3, $4, $5. A 9.8 might be worth, I'll make it up, $400, $500 maybe. When comics are really pushing, for all the reasons that you guys talk about after COVID, I think that one might have been a $900 comic and a 9.8 or something like that. So that will be fun again on Veve. There'll be comics that we laugh at. I'll give an example. Do not use this. Do not FOMO into this, but is X-Men 130. That we have that on the app, and there's only 5,000 of them, which means that there's 3,000 commons. The big speculation is that Taylor Swift, you may have heard of her before, will play Dazzler in the new drop Deadpool 3 movie, Is that going to happen? We don't know, but it's fun, right? That comic, I think, was, $2, $3 on the app. I think when the rumors started about, a month or two ago, I think the comic pushed to like $10. I'm talking about the commons. And now it's fallen back a bit some. But that's the fun of it all. For me, at least. Other people may not find that fun, but that's the fun for me.
We have a shout from Bill Garner, and he says, Sleeping, I just ordered 100 physical comics with variants of new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Last Ronin series of all the new Turtles. What's your thoughts on that?
I do have number of the Last Ronin, and I can explain what that is in a second if you guys don't know what that is. Yeah, that's great. And what a fun comic book series. Only 4 of them, and you're gonna do more. So that universe is kind of separate than the real TMNT universe, but you know how things are. They always kind of end up merging in the end.
Oh, that's awesome. I love Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I used to watch them as a kid. It's been a while now.
Have you read The Last Ronin or even know what it's about or no?
No.
So basically, quickly, the two original authors got together. They had been estranged and not talking. They decided to do a new run. And it takes place in the future where all the turtles are dead except for one. And it's kind of talking about what's happened. And, and people didn't even know which one survived them all. They all speculated about who it was. And so it's only 4 issues. Of course, when it came out about 2-3 years ago, maybe 2 years ago, it was super, super popular, maybe 3 years ago. And anybody and everybody grabbed a couple copies. And so that's what that is.
We have a comment here. It says, Sleeping, did you see Swift at the Jets game last night with Deadpool and Wolverine?
I saw, luckily.
That's nuts.
Many people sent me pictures. I was sleeping. So yeah, I found that out. But, once again, it's all speculative, but super fun. Why would Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds hang out with Taylor Swift? We don't know. Maybe they're buds.
Hang out with Taylor Swift. I'll volunteer for that.
Loves it. Awesome. Okay, I think that's pretty much all caught up on the comments now. Actually, there's one comment back here. Who is this for? Randy, this might be for you to answer.
Okay.
Can you talk about the chance of having having Pokemon on Veve?
So officially, last we heard from David, he was on Lori Brenner's her space, the Queen's Court. I think she'll be on soon, right? She'll be on next week. And we have
next week.
The last that we heard of that was it's still going on, the negotiations. So to my knowledge, there's a site called E4, short for Elite 4, where all the collectors hang out. And that's where they go and they have buy threads, sell threads, the favorite artists. Like it's like Reddit, but for Pokemon collectors. It's the biggest collector site for Pokemon. And if there was any inkling that there was any other company that Pokemon would give their license to, it would be there. And there is none. So either Veve gets the license or nobody does. And Pokemon and Nintendo just kind of do it themselves. So I would say, and that's it. Which way are they leaning for us to go? I mean, if we have most major licenses, like when David went on a few months ago and he said, and I asked him about, hey, how do you get these licenses, keep them interested in Web3 when, they just went with Recur and then they kind of failed. They're done. How do you get them to still stay excited? And without missing a beat, he's like, we already have some of their licenses. So if it has some of their licenses, you could, and David posted a picture 3 days ago with a Paramount Pictures hat. So what does Paramount Pictures own? Well, it owns Nickelodeon, Avatar, all this stuff. And Recur had, outside of Hello Kitty, which that'd be great if we had that. But they had Hey Arnold, they had Cat Dog, they had Rugrats, they had all these different things that, I don't know, that just might make Pokemon want them more. I am waiting for the day where Veve decides to go and raise money. Whether I don't want it to be through a random VC. I want it to be done through, like you guys said, Tesla, SpaceX, Apple, Disney, whatever. But that's just kind of my ideas. Again, I don't actually know. I wish you would tell me. But
awesome. Yeah. Well, the comment, he said he thinks 80-90% chance we do have Veve, do have Pokemon license on Veve, and so I'd agree with that. And I've got a quick shout out from Stan for sleeping. Is there any speculation that they'll have a rare and ultra rare of the physical versions? I'm guessing of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I think he just means in general for the comics.
Oh, okay. Sleeping?
Yeah, I haven't
idea?
heard anything. So,
Okay.
And just my personal opinion, I don't think it would happen because let's just, let's walk through it logically. Let's just go, whatever. Let's just take X-Men 130, with the first, we're talking about first appearance with Dazzler, right? Old book, not a huge book, but there's people that like it. They'd have to do like a facsimile of it and re-release it with these rares and ultra rare covers. I guess I don't see it, but maybe in the future, Marvel likes money. So maybe I think it would have to happen if Veve has a much larger user base. Because right now I could see them doing a facsimile, and they do facsimiles of key comics. They haven't done one of that one, but you never know, right? It's just not a big enough comic, X-Men 130. So if they were to do one for whatever reason, well, if Taylor Swift is in a movie, whatever, for whatever reason, and then they would most likely just do a facsimile of the original, not like one with these variants. But man, if the user base of Veve is 100,000, whatever, we all talk about it being, Marvel's going to do those numbers and the numbers would look good. So you never know. I guess I'll go back on what I was going to say. My initial thought process was no, but I think when you have, and that's the power, right, of having a large audience, and being able to speak to that. That's what they're doing with the Funko Pops, etc. They're really utilizing their user base. So no, I guess I was going to say no, but maybe. My answer is maybe, but I haven't heard anything.
Yeah. Dr. Stuff, do you know anything about this?
I have not seen this. This is interesting that the New York Giants, right? This football team are coming and they're partnering with Marvel. And we know that Veve is closely tied to Marvel. We also know that Veve is going to be announced with Funko. Man, this could be crazy. Veve's lining up all of this and this massive announcement. And
in the bear.
It's so funny. Look, like to see these comments on Twitter where people are like, "Oh, Veve's quiet. I'm concerned. And it just seems like it's engagement farming. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like because they haven't made a post, you think that they're just this doesn't make any sense to me. And I just wonder what their intent is with that sometimes. And it was funny because Emily T's kind of shouted out this person and they were like, after the announcement of Funko, which is massive, right? This Funko partnership is massive. There are worldwide collectors of Funko, and they're going to look at this in the edition sizes, because a lot of times they don't actually announce what the edition size of a release is. So they announce that it's limited to 3,000, right? And then not only that, but like each Chase variant is really only 600. That is, for the Funko world, that is crazy, right? So Veve's building, and now there's this potential, and this is speculation because I have not heard that, so I'm going to have to go look at that. But what else could it be, right? So first of all, we have Disney partnering with the NFL with that Toy Story room. And I watched that and I showed my son that, right? And he was fascinated by it. Like, that was so cool how they used AI in real time, right? You got Bijan Robinson with this fire, like coming from his feet. Like, it's awesome. And so I think that these companies are starting to see the digital world and what's coming. And so I could absolutely see that being a partnership. So Seeking, hey, I appreciate you. Shout out to you for bringing that to our attention. I'm going to have to dig and do a little bit more research before this New York Comic Con happens.
I also can't find where he's saying that this happened. Like, it's not on the New York Giants Instagram page. It's not on Marvel. Eli Manning doesn't have an Instagram. If somebody could like link to where this is going, I Googled it as well. I couldn't find anything. That'd be super great.
We can check it out later. That's all right. Hey, Rain, just want to get your thoughts on Uptober, because I think you said that you're not sure that it's going to do what everyone thinks it's going to do.
Yeah. So what I've seen in the crypto market, like actually September was supposed to be bad, right? Because historically September is usually bad, and so it played out the opposite of that. Why did it play out the opposite of that? Well, there is some pressure, right? So we saw the dollar go up, and I didn't learn to even start looking at this till I was like 3 years in crypto, that assets are inversely related to the dollar price or the strength of the dollar. And it was really Paul he usually joins me on Wednesdays to look at things, and he looks at every market. And so he's the one that clued me into this. The dollar goes up, Bitcoin almost always goes down. And yet in September, the dollar strength went up by a lot and Bitcoin stayed the same, whereas other assets like stocks went down. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is huge. That means somebody is buying massively while other people are selling, but they're secretly buying massively to the tune of billions of dollars. Otherwise, it would have gone down. And I'm like, there is some good positive signs with that. So I was like, I think September is going to be quite positive. October, though, what concerns me is I thought October would be positive till like everyone is expecting it. And then that's what makes me nervous. when everyone's expecting, it just decreases the odds that it's going to play out that way. And so if 80 or 90% of people are expecting it, well, then actually the big whales are going to play into that. You'll see a lot of longs taken, and those longs will get liquidated as they manipulate the price down. Now, to the side of it going up from now, there isn't a lot of leverage trading. So there aren't a lot of longs for them to liquidate. So sentiment is going long, but they aren't actually taking longs. So as long as it stays like that, and there's not a lot of people taking longs on like Bitcoin, then there won't be any longs to liquidate, and there won't be a financial incentive for them to then push it down and take all that money. So I just am hearing way too many people say it's going to be an amazing October. That hits my radar like, oh man, I thought it was going to be, but I'm hearing that too much now.
That makes sense. That's a great answer. And I was also going to say that I think Ethereum as well as Bitcoin are very, very low with the amount of those coins or tokens on the exchanges. So it's actually getting harder and harder to buy Bitcoin and Ethereum. I think Ethereum especially has really, really gone down, and it might get to a point where I think it's now 22% of all Ethereum is staked. That's a huge amount of Ethereum that's staked. And it's going to get to a point where it's really, really hard to buy. And obviously that'll just drive the price up exponentially. And so, Randy said we've got that futures ETF. And so when we get the spot ETF for Ethereum, that'll be nuts. And that's most people are suggesting that'll be next year after the Bitcoin spot ETF. Yeah. So I was going to say, we've got a few more channels.
So check this out. Oh, let's see if I can get this.
What's that?
This is the Marvel booth announcement, and you can see there, New York Giants, Eli Manning surprise reveal.
Yeah,
website.
I saw it on X.
When's that for?
That's
Thursday.
October 12th. Yeah.
Ooh, there's a lot happening. Yeah, there's a lot happening in October.
The day of that'd be wild if he goes to the Veve party. I mean, Veve's been retweeting a lot of the NFL stuff, and I don't know why. And what does Marvel have to do with the NFL? Why are they there? I mean, I guess because Disney, that's on Disney Plus, they're streaming, but he's not even a quarterback anymore. Doesn't play. I don't know. I'm confused. Someone help.
Who wants to answer this one? Maybe Dr.
I'll answer that one. I'm an expert in OMI.
Ooh, yes, let's go. Actually, I do have that question. Do you own OMI?
Yes, I own not as much as these crazy people around me, but no, I own multiple millions. So
awesome. So you're in the tens of
but
millions?
nothing like the people in this crowd.
In the tens of millions? Can we say that?
Yeah. But
nice.
but not once again, feeble compared to the other people in this room.
Yeah, I mean, Randy and I are a bit crazy, and I think Dr. Stuff's not that far behind.
Ray, guys, I'm behind. I want to get that out there. But
Rain keeps it quiet, and I actually fully, as an influencer now, I understand that because if you tell the amount, like it's hard for me to sell any of my OMI now because everyone's like always asking how much OMI I have. So guys, I still have 220 million OMI. And if you hear me not announcing how much OMI I have, it's probably because I'm starting to sell it. Shh.
I think obviously if you have a YouTube channel, it makes and complicates everything. And you want to try to be as transparent as you can. I try and be as transparent as I can. So my transparency is I'm selling it all.
Mark has told us your secret. Apparently you have 1 billion OMI.
Yeah, no. For me, it's I try to invest as wisely as I can. And when you're in the realm of OMI and other things, I was a big Bitcoin guy. I think you guys knew that, or maybe you didn't know that. I was a big Bitcoin guy back.
How far back?
I bought my first bunch of Bitcoin in 2014, 15, something like that. Then I was farming it here in my basement.
You mined it? You mined it? I mined as well. That's awesome.
I mean, I like to learn. So I'm like, trying to learn about it. And you remember back then, like, there was the only thing you could learn for me was to watch YouTube videos. And,
Yeah. And what did you run? Do you remember what your computer spec was that you ran?
No, I had like 5 or 6 computers down here. They're just trash. They're,
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, maybe I need to move to get better graphics cards to try and mine Ethereum, the whole game. But I was burning up more energy than it was not a net positive, believe me. And I didn't know what I was doing, and it was a disaster. But and then I stopped because I got really interested in something else, and I kind of forgot about it. And then for like years, and then when it boomed in 2017, I can't remember when the really first big boom was, because I remember back then it was like $200 to $500, and people would always speculate, maybe we could get over $1,000. No, that's impossible. Like, you know. So but no, I was able to stick it out, and then it boomed. I think it went to like 20,000, and then it got banned in a bunch of countries, and I freaked out, and I sold all of it. I sold all of it when it was around, I think it was around 15,000. I think I sold it all.
Nice. So that was a 2017 run. Yeah,
that was a 2017 run. So
I remember that. Yeah,
I made a bunch of money. It was good. My wife and kids stopped laughing at me for 6 months, so that was good.
Yeah.
But just for 6 months, right? Then they started.
No,
again.
Now they're back. They're like, why are you buying these Veve things, right?
Yeah, I was mining Bitcoin and selling it at like $200 or $300.
Yeah, that's when I was
Yeah, and then obviously I kept a little bit in my wallet. Like it was worth like $5 at the time. I ended up selling it for $1,200 in 2017. So it was I was able to make quite a bit of money off of it, and so that was good. I was once again made my family happy for one day. Do you take them to Disneyland?
No, I always, whenever I get like, and most of you guys know my background, but I've started and sold a couple companies, and whenever that happens, I always am really careful with it. And most of the time, I invested all, like my last company I sold, and this is not a lie. We took all the money, invested it, and went out to eat, and that was it. Like that was it.
So you're an entrepreneur.
Yeah. I started my first company when I was 21. Yeah, ran that for 10 years. That was pretty good.
Wow. Yeah. I love it. I love it. It's fun exiting businesses for a good profit. And then you got to think of what's next after that.
Yeah. I started a company with some friends about 4 or 5 years ago. And this one is VC backed. So the other ones were not VC backed. So that's the significance. We have three VCs and a bunch of angel investors. So that obviously has been a much different experience than previously.
We just got the best comment from Mike here. Is it weird how much I look forward to watching 5 million guys talk out a company no one knows about with a token that barely used? To the shades on.
What's so funny is he's not wrong there. Like nobody knows about it yet. Right. So I was talking about Axie Infinity, though I didn't have a channel, right? So who'd I have to talk about it? Actually, Dr. Stuff wouldn't listen to me about it. I couldn't talk to him about it. Talked to my wife about it, and she didn't get it. And so literally I would bore her to death with it because I'm like, no, this is going to be huge, And she's like, how did that do this month? I'm like, well, it's down. See, why don't you sell it? Why don't you sell it before it goes to zero? No, it's going to go up next month. How to do? It's down. Further? Yes, further. Why aren't you selling it? Because it's at some point it's going to go the other way. And then when it did, it went massive and everybody was talking about it. Everybody. I was like, I can't even find anybody who doesn't talk about it now. And they all act like they're geniuses. Like, oh my gosh, I'm buying this Axie Infinity and the token's only $150. And it's like, where were you when the token was 40 cents? Where were you when the land was like $30 for a Mystic piece, and now they're going for 30,000. Like now everyone's all excited about it, and they're all geniuses buying it. And I was like, time to sell.
I think and there's different ways to invest, obviously. And from my perspective, because I'm once again from running companies, I was saying, if you run a company for any extended period of time, and I'm talking like more than 5 years, and I know you guys are in this boat, you have to have a lot of intestinal fortitude because there are up and downs. It's like running a marathon. There's some hills there that just you really want to get out and stop, and you are puking your guts out, and so you just got to have faith and keep pushing, and that's difficult. But the key is, and I've had a lot of good mentors over the years, is you have to, and I know you talk about this on your channel, Rain, is you have to do your best to independently try to assess where things are at. And in my mind, especially from a investment perspective, you want to look at, are there still some true catalysts that can make this thing go? If not, in other words, if we already had completely opened up the doors to Asia for 5 years and we got no users, if the Veveverse had been out for 5 years and we had no users and nobody was interested in it, and the Apple Vision goggles and 10 other companies had goggles out and just there was no traction whatsoever. Yeah. Cause then you're like, well, what's next going to make it pop? You get a little worried, but of course that's not. We're on the other side of all those other things. There's so many catalysts that can make the thing go, including ones that at least I had never thought of, which is, hey, let's partner with Funko. They tend to have a lot of people buy their stuff. And maybe if they buy those, we'll get it. Are we going to get, of the new Funko people, are we going to get 100% of those people to convert and try Veve? No, but could you get 5%? That's a really big number.
And short-term versus long-term, right? So short-term, 5%, long-term over 10 years, possibly 100%. In fact, possibly the digital side collects more Funko collectors than there ever was before. And so it becomes a complete win-win, right? Win for Veve, win for Funko.
Well, in my company, obviously, we talk about it from a marketing perspective. How do we educate customers and then onboard? That's, every single company has that discussion 24/7. And so, they do that day and night. And I think what I have said incorrectly, and some people have said incorrectly, is, let's just burn, tens of thousands of dollars. And trust me, you can burn tens of thousands of dollars per day on Facebook and Google ads. And let's just make this thing go. And it seems like Veve has decided not to do that. They're doing a little bit of that, but it seems like they have, and they're smart guys and gals, hey, we're going to do it through this way. We're going to do it through that way. Maybe we get in the Marvel booth. Maybe obviously this Funko partnership. Let's see how this goes. And it does seem to make sense that once you kind of see some of that pulled together, that the chance of bringing in these people and having them attempt to understand and then become part of the ecosystem is much greater than I'm going to burn up $10,000 a day on Facebook ads.
Yeah, your business background. Somebody asked a fantastic question there, and whose was it? Asking about what correlation there was. Yeah, Stan. This was perfect. The panel has different backgrounds, but they have similar personality types. Is there a psychological personality that's linked to early adopters or risk takers? Thanks. I've actually, Stan, been thinking about the same question like the past month. In my mind, it's been going through my mind. Why are not enough people taking advantage of this opportunity? I remember 2.5 years ago when it was March 2021 and I found the Veve app early March 2021. I was like, this Batman is going to be huge. And I talked about it and a bunch of people was like, okay, I'll buy one. And they bought one. And some people just laughed. They didn't even put the $80 into one. A few people backed a truck up to it and they bought like 400 of them. And I thought, okay, so why do some people think like the 400 or the 5 or the 10 or 20 or 50 when they see an opportunity like this? And why do some people think, nah, it's $80? Nah, okay, I'll get one. Because I've been thinking about it, because like I'm really excited where the OMI price is, but why are so many people like, okay, I'm going to put $100 into it, and then they go out that weekend and spend $100 on alcohol and other things. And so like $100 isn't even meaningful compared to their income and net worth. And yet they're like, oh, I'll go 100. And then you have people like Jordan that's like, okay, I sold my other company. I'm going to roll like 90% of everything I made from that company into crypto. After taxes, I'm just going to throw it all in. I'm going to like take massive risk here and back up the truck to this opportunity because I've been waiting for this my whole life. And so Jordan sees it, and you can tell how many people don't see it by the hate he gets for it. And they're just like, oh, that's so stupid. Oh, this, oh, that. Well, those, oh, this or oh, that people, they are never betting on themselves. And you know what? 4 years from now, you know what they'll be saying? Oh, what? And literally, I don't know for sure that OMI is going to do well. But when I see, if I were to rate the chances according to Rain for my own investment, I give an 80% chance that OMI is going to do well to extremely well. And so if you were at the craps table and you assessed that your risk really was 80% based on your calculations, would like 80% chance it's going to hit black this time, would you go all in on it? Because I do. Now, if it's 47% chance of hitting black, I'm not even going to the table. But if I see something where I see a window that I'm like, and that's what I saw with the Batman black and white, and it was a risk. Nobody knew Veve. Nobody had heard of it within the crypto space. Hardly. I didn't even know how to pronounce it. If you watch my first video on it, I called it Veve because I didn't even know how to say it, because when I found it, I thought surely there's other videos on this thing. And I searched and nobody had made any videos on Veve anywhere. And so I'm like, well, this is, oh my gosh. And I didn't even know how to pronounce it till like 2 or 3 or 4 videos in. It's kind of embarrassing when I was rewatching it. I didn't even know how to pronounce the name, but that's how early it was. And I was like, this Todd McFarlane Batman is going to be huge. And some people were smart enough to at least buy one. But what makes the difference between those who back up a truck to it and take the calculated risk? Obviously, they would have done their research. And they're like, first Batman on the blockchain? Wow. Oh my gosh. Who knows? Might fail, but I'm going to bet big on this one is what they decided. And that alone made them huge money.
I think a lot of it, at least here in the United States, and I know I only say that because I know some of you are not, and it also, I think, is your personal background. My family is really more traditional. And so they're just, you go to work, you do your work, you take your, 5-10% or whatever you can, you throw it in a savings account. And, I get once I mean, I know better. So it's like, apparently they don't know what inflation is, but it's, and that's what you do, and you be the good soldier and hopefully you get promoted. And so, I went to work, I graduated with a math major, and then I went to work for a big computer science consulting company, and I worked there for 2 years, and man, it was really good in terms of I learned a lot, but I was like one of the top people there, and I was getting 5% raises because I was one of the best. You know what I mean? And anybody with a math major can extrapolate that out. It ain't gonna be good. So that's why I was like, all right, this is no go. So then I started my own company with a friend of mine, and then after 2 or 3 years, we built it up. We worked all night long, and then after 2 years, we built it up. The game, and then we left and ran that company for a while. It was good. So I think to answer, I'm not answering anybody's question, but I think Rain has a great point. Is you have to have at some point some sort of kind of revelation that you need to think differently, because if you think the same, not to quote Steve Jobs, but if you think the same as everybody else, you're just going to be like everybody else. You got to try to get ahead. This is a game. I mean, as much as people don't like it, and people are like, oh, I don't like to compete, and I don't like to, I don't, what do you think this is?
Yeah.
Are you trying to tell us simulation confirmed, right? Simulation confirmed.
It really is. Life is a video game, right? So I was playing EVE Online in 2003, and I became one of the wealthiest individual players in that game. And I was making real life money by selling this stuff through eBay. And I was like, this is amazing. I was like, I am learning so much about business in this video game. I'm like, this is incredible. This is a simulation for life. And me and one other guy figured out how to take calculated risks that were way too scary for a whole bunch of people. And yet we minimize those risks, so they almost never cost us any financial detriment because we figured out how to buffer against them. And we made massive amounts as individual players in the game. And it almost got boring making so much money in the game, and even selling it for real life money. I would sell it for 150, a whole bunch of currency in the game for $150 at a pop, like real life $150. And people would just sell instantly. And then they would send me their in-game name, and I would message them the money or send it through like their system in the game. I was like, this is crazy. I'm making money playing video games. Well, they shut that down because they shut down all the on-ramps or off-ramps. Like eBay would no longer allow you to do that, and they really clamped down on that. Well, once again, things are going that way. So Veve is kind of in that space. It has to do with like collectibles and the market to be able to sell things. Video game or blockchain gaming is definitely in that space. You will see more money move into blockchain gaming than it's ever been in gaming ever, by huge multipliers. So probably 20x the money that's being spent in gaming right now will come into blockchain gaming in the next 5 years. And I'm talking about 20x per year over what things are at now, because companies will be able to build within video games companies, and the amount of money that will go through that will be absolutely crazy. People can't even fathom it, but just look at what Counter-Strike Go is doing. A really, really successful video game, if it's really, really successful, makes $1 billion in revenues. Counter-Strike Go gave partial ownership to their people when they sell their loot crates. And if you open it up and get a rare skin, you can turn around and sell that. As long as you don't get your Counter-Strike account locked, you can sell that. And they have made $3 billion on the $30 billion that has changed hands between people. So I don't know how much they even made on the initial sale of those things. They might have made $1 billion on the initial sale. They made $3 billion just from those changing hands, and that's just with partial ownership. Just partial ownership. And
really,
hasn't even been
tech tools need to be in place. Those for I'm talking about Web3 now, right? And we're seeing all those be built, and we can laugh and joke about it, and we will in 2 or 3 years, this and that. And it was so difficult. Remember how they just couldn't, they couldn't get the stuff on the blockchain and all this other stuff. But sooner or later, there are going to be, a bunch of these companies that come in and make it really, really easy for, smaller or startup companies to do all these kind of relatively difficult tasks in Web3. And then they're only going to be thinking about the business aspects of it. And it's going to take off. And the only thing I say is exactly like the internet. It was so damn hard to do e-commerce. Now, you have Shopify, have all the different things, right? But, and my first company, we made e-commerce websites, and that we made a lot of money because it was so hard. We could build them. We kind of had a framework. We would, so, but that was the beginning of the internet. And of course, what everybody has said the exact same things about the internet as they do about Web3. You guys have talked about that, I know, which is, it's a scam. I don't know what it is. This is so goofy. Like, you have a website. Like, what is that? I don't get it. Nobody even uses the internet. Why would I make a website? It's the same thing. It's the same thing. What is this Web3? No one even uses it. I don't even know how to use the Web3. Well, you don't know how to use it. It's new. That's why you don't know how to use it. You know what I mean? I don't even know how to use it properly yet. We're still figuring it out. We're still figuring out where businesses can provide value. Now, it's funny because the word in Web3 is utility, right? But I'm old school, so I say the word value. But true value is when it helps you do something in a more or cheaper, and saves you time or money, or allows you to get something that you never got before. So true value is when I have a website and it's open 24/7, and my customers can come and buy from me when I'm sleeping. That is true value. That was not available back in the day. I mean, it's inconceivable, right? Inconceivable that your company could only do business between 9 and 5. What are you, But of course, now, whatever, right? So Web3, we know is going to be the same thing. It's going to do things that we don't even understand yet. And for me, it's two-part, and I've said this in my videos. It's I'm just having fun learning, just like I did back when the internet started. It is madness. It's great to be a part of it. We are right on the edge. Hopefully, we'll be able to make a little bit of money off of it. Some of you guys are probably going to make a lot of money off of it, but you know what I'm saying. And so, but it's just fun to learn with all the people. The second thing is that personally, I want to know about it because I'm not going to die next year. So I want to know about this new technology so I can integrate into my company, so I can make new companies, whatever I'm going to do, right? I need to learn this stuff, or, I'm going to be behind. Well, I'm already behind, but you know what I'm saying.
Sleeping, you're getting me very bullish. I'm very bullish now.
Yeah, man, I started getting all this energy. I'm just like, oh, you're pumping me up, right? And
well, now you know why. Now, this is what you have to do when people always ask me, what do you do when you go raise money? This is what you have to do when you go raise money. Mm-hmm. You have to, I raise money by asking questions. What would happen if we could, make $50 million? How would you make $50 million? And so then I walk them through, like, this is how the company can make $50 million, and people laugh, but that's like what you have. That's a legitimate thing. And I'm sure that, the interesting thing about, David and Dan is that they're in their conversations, they're not like, this is how we would make $50 million. Oh no, we already make $50 million. Like their conversations are, which is kind of like that Facebook movie. I don't know if you saw the Facebook movie, whatever. This is how we're going to make $1 billion, which they probably will. I mean, raw revenue, we don't know what profits, we don't know anything, but raw revenue, they're probably going to be another year or two, they're literally going to be making pumping $1 billion through that company.
I think they've already sold more than 2 billion New Zealand dollars. I think.
Oh my God, it's madness.
Well, it depends how you look at it, because there's a lot of companies that go and say, hey, what are your amount of sales? And even though on the secondary market, Veve only gets 2.5% of that, that still goes to their total sales on the cross trading. So as far as actual sales gross numbers, it is over that. As far as actual revenue towards Veve, I think maybe between 400 and 500 million over the last couple of years.
There is
really
a high potential.
The biggest challenge for any company is to get users and to get active users. It is. It's hard. And to get thousands of them is really hard. And so they've achieved that already. And obviously we want more and blah, 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 blah. But once you've achieved some of these raw numbers and revenue and you can grow them, if you change the calculus 1%, it starts becoming really, really big money. And if you can somehow, add in a new product that you already have, your tens of thousands of people will buy, it becomes recognized real revenue, huge amounts of revenue very, very quickly. So in other words, I'll make this up. Let's just pretend that they came out with a new product where you could pick 4 of your NFTs and they would print it on one of those nice metal like plates and you could put it in your office. I don't know. I'm just making this up, right? Completely different. It's a physical. They'd send it to you and they charge you $100. Bunch of people would do it. Let's just, since it's a Veve product, they could immediately recognize a ton of that revenue. A large percent of it would be theirs. And that's what I mean by they already have thousands and thousands of people that would sign up for it. They can instantly make more money pretty quickly. And we've seen this with what? When they sell the Veve stuff, when they sell the Veve logos or so it's a lot of what they have done initially, the initial load and the initial part of it is done. Now, obviously there's new, things they have to get through, but I think it's impressive to this point, but, and obviously we got to see what's going to happen after this.
Imagine down the road, if Veve continues to become the premier digital collectibles app, 10 years down the road, the amount of revenues that they will make just on people trading Todd McFarlane Batmans and just all the collectibles that have accumulated, the revenues they will make on that 2% fee over time will be crazy.
Mind-boggling. And, once again, not to that we want them to do this, but, if they just said, for whatever reason, we need to change it and take another 0.5% when they have, 100,000 people, it's just mind-boggling. Mind-boggling.
Don't give them ideas. Yeah.
So when they lower it by 0.5%,
right? Hopefully they lower it.
More profitable for people trading.
I know that's not what companies do.
I think that's one of those things.
Let's give them
that
they
had on the original OUP, where it's like, hey, if you stake a certain amount of OMI, you will have to pay less fees in the market. Yeah. So that's a really good way for them to be able to do that while also still being bullish.
So I want to ask you guys a question because you more on the OMI side. So because I don't know as much about that. I'm going to say some statements and you can say if I'm wrong. But with this type of NFT project, is it the only one? Only is a weird word. One of the few that have token that's integrated in like this, or because I think of like McFarlane, which I like their stuff, or I think about Backhouse, or I think about HRO. They don't have a token associated with it. Can you talk to me a little bit about that?
Native token, yes, that were the only ones. But I mean, if you want to have McFarlane, like you can use Matic. So I mean, but outside of that.
I meant one like associated.
I think you're right. Yeah, I think
there are a few. They're just ahead of them, right? So TVK has a token, don't they, Terra? Or maybe they don't have a token. I know there was one, I forget the name. I interviewed their founders like 2 years ago, and they just haven't done this well because they haven't been able to get the licenses, and so they have a token associated with them. But OMI, number one, has a way head start on everyone. They started a full cycle before everyone else in this space. So they started raising funds and stuff in 2017. I think they launched their token in like later 2018, like end of the year was like their public sale of 2018 or somewhere near the end of the year. And then they went through the bear market and then the bull market. And it wasn't till that following bull market when OMI already had like 3 or 4 years under their belt that a lot of the competitors were coming in being like, oh, there's a real, need for this. And so Veve is like light years ahead of them. As long as they don't make major mistakes, they have the first mover advantage because they were massively ahead and they're getting all the big licenses. So it's so much easier for them to continue getting these big licenses over their competitors who are coming out and being like, hey, look at us, and oh, we have, a helmet from Maverick's helmet from Top Gun and stuff. And like David and Dan walk in there and they're like, well, we have Marvel, Disney, we've done these big licenses and it's easy. The companies are like, oh, let's go with these Veve guys. They've already done this.
And we're still seeing the ecosystem develop. And within the ecosystem, obviously, it's the continuity and community aspects of it. And so if you're kind of out there on your own, yeah, you might have the cool Maverick helmet. And I'm sure it's super cool, right? But then how are you going to integrate it to the rest of the games or the world or whatever? This, you can put the helmet right next. You can put the helmet on Darth Vader if you want or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and Terra made a smart move that they moved over the Cardano ecosystem and they raised some more funds by selling land there. And the truth is, it's hard to compete against Veve. They are a monster. They are big. They are the 800-pound gorilla in this space. And so they made some smart strategic decisions to survive, and that has kept them alive. Because ask any number of these projects that failed in the last 6 months how hard it is to compete against Veve. It's freaking hard because they suck up all the oxygen in the room. They do some launch with some rare Marvel comic and they just sell out instantaneously. And even on a lot of the other ones, they sell out instantaneously. And they're just crushing the competitors. And I know people that are just here that this is their first time really engaging in business development. They're just not ready to understand this. And sometimes their voices are the loudest and they throw off people who are trying to learn how to understand this. Tune them out. They do not know what the F they are talking about. They are just babies in this space. And if some 5-year-old came up to you and tried to give you business advice, would you listen to them? So some of these people just don't know what they're talking about. They don't know business development cycles. They don't know anything about how this process works. That's kind of been on my mind this last month as I was thinking, why are more people not putting their pedal to the metal and stepping on the gas when the prices are this low? And they will wait till all of a sudden prices are way, way, way higher. And then all of a sudden they'll put their pedal to the metal. And why do we as humans do this? And some people just have to totally miss it the first time, or they dabble in it a little bit to then later see. And later I'm going to be like, resist the urge to step on the gas because it's late. Don't do it. Now it's thinking about taking profits. And they almost have to mess it all up their first cycle and get it all wrong and get that out of their system while somebody's been telling them to do it the right way. And then they're like, crap, I just had to touch the hot stove. I know you told me don't touch the hot stove. Just had to feel what it was like, but now I get it.
It's fear. I mean, most people are driven by fear, which is fine. I mean, I'm driven by fear too, right? We're all afraid of things legitimately. I have a family, I have kids, I don't want to lose all my money. I mean, that's not fun. That doesn't sound good to me. And so I think for most people, there's different types of investment. When you're investing in a company that you've heard of before and is on TV, like, Amazon or Apple or whatever it might be, it feels good. And when they have, because even those companies, as we know, go through ups and downs, but you're like, well, Apple's been around a long time. Amazon's been around a long time. I feel good about it, blah, 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 blah. But those companies go out of business too. You know what I mean? Or they have really, really tough times and, whatever. It's when I think depending on, it's just what is your capacity to manage the unknown? And people, if you're not used to it, for me, running a company, I don't want to disclose too much, but my first 2 companies, most of the time probably had 2 months in the bank. 2 months in the bank of payroll, sometimes less,
Cash
never
flow.
really more. And
Wow.
so you're worried. Like if we don't
Yeah.
sign some deals, man, we
Yeah.
are literally gonna go. But after 25 years of that, I mean, in the beginning it was rough. I couldn't sleep because I'm like, you know, and I didn't have kids or anything in the beginning, right? You know, but after a while, you just get used to the risk just doesn't. I don't know. It doesn't even faze me anymore. Like, you know, and
Yep.
so I think for people when they, you know, oh, I put a bunch of money in this OMI thing and it's gone down and they're not looking at the catalysts and whatnot, it is their capacity for risk and wow, it's never going back. And you know, David hasn't posted on, on X in the last 22 hours.
Yeah.
I'm selling it. I'm out.
Yeah. And you get these fudders that come in, right? And they pretend like they might use big words or they sound like they know what they're talking about. And they point out weaknesses in a company and they make that sound like because of this weakness, it's all going to zero. And look, I love people bringing up issues. I think it's very important with any business or anything that I analyze. I'm saying, what are the weaknesses here? And then can they overcome them? Are they working to overcome them? And then you talk about catalysts, right? And there's so many catalysts. You brought up such a good point a while back about, you know, if all the catalysts were here, Veve still wasn't doing well, massive red flags, right? But Veve is doing quite well. And there's so many catalysts left to hit. And when you talk about the OMI token, and I talk about this a lot on my channel too, is I'm like, it is the only token that's tied to all of these massive IPs. What I mean by that is you can use that to and integrate that token to the fandoms, all of the different fandoms and utilize that. And so it like that is so massive because you have like Terra Virtua, you have some of these others, Eternity, and you can kind of use that token, but they're not bringing in necessarily a metaverse to that. Like there's so many other aspects to this that they are bringing in that when you bring that all together, it of course it's high risk. But when we talk about business cycles, okay, I'm going to back up a little bit. When I was younger, I remember even at a young age and hearing about like the success of the people who bought Microsoft stock and when they bought it early and they held it, you know, and they were millionaires from that. And I was like, man, I wish that like I had money or that I understood all this stuff, you know, and I could have bought Microsoft stock. And then Apple came up, right? And then I actually worked for Fidelity. And when Tesla IPO'd, I was telling people, I'm like, look, I'm just a college guy, but like, I'm like, if I had money right now, I would be buying Tesla. That's what I would be buying, right? But again, I was like, I don't have the money at this point. But now that I have the money, I've been waiting for these opportunities, right? And it's funny because Rain talked to me a lot. He did tell me about Axie Infinity, and I was like, da da da. But when he told me about the first Batman on the blockchain, I did listen, and that connected. Now he didn't listen to me on Bored Apes, so I got that back at him. But
That's true. He pulled up a Bored Ape. He's like, "This is the most expensive Bored Ape. It's 1 ETH right now, but I think you should even buy the cheap ones." But this one, that Bored Ape later sold for 1.4 million. Somebody bought it for 1 ETH and flipped it for 1.4
in 5 months, right?
Yep.
But like, where I'm going with all of this is for me. I consider it like have any of you read The Big Short or seen the movie The Big Short? Right?
No.
Good movie.
Okay. So the main character, basically what happens is he does the analysis and he realizes that all of these mortgage-backed securities, that it would not take much for them to default. And yet they're AAA rated, right? And he goes to the smartest guys in the room, right? He goes to the Goldman Sachs, all of these big bankers, and he's like, hey, I got a proposition for you. I mean, like, and what I want to do is I want to buy insurance. Will you guys create this opportunity for me to buy insurance on these mortgage-backed securities in case they default? And Goldman Sachs is like, oh, yeah, okay. These are AAA rated. You want to buy insurance on AAA rated securities? Sure, buy insurance on it. This is great, right? And he's like, I will buy it all day long. And so he's buying and he created a new instrument. When you talk about thinking differently, right? He creates a credit default swap. And it's basically this insurance for in case these mortgage-backed securities. And everyone was calling him crazy. All of them, all the smartest guys in the room. And I'm sure that at some point, right, he's like, am I crazy? I've done this analysis and this all seems like a house of cards. And he's like, I'm going down. And what was crazy is he bought these and the defaults didn't happen initially. And he was like, what is happening. And all of his investors started calling him and being like, you need to pull my money out. And he locked him in a contract and said, nope, I'm right and you were wrong. And people were freaking out because their values dipped significantly before the defaults finally started happening, right? And then he made them multi-millionaires because of this. And so when I look at things like Veve and I'm doing this analysis and we're talking about the way that digital is going, this is where it's going. Everything is going digital. In fact, like Xbox, right? And PlayStation, their new consoles aren't going to have a disk drive anymore. My laptop doesn't have a DVD drive anymore. It's all digital downloads. And this is the way it is going. And with the Apple Vision Pro, all this technology. So why wouldn't digital collecting or collecting also go digital? It just makes sense. And then when you tie that to the team who has an extreme background, an incredible background in history in collecting and business development, right? And then they're partnering with the likes of Al Kahn and landing these partnerships. I look at all of that and I just say, like Raymond talked about, I feel like the percentage chance of this actually succeeding is much greater than 50%, that I am willing to take that risk. It could still go to zero. Some of these companies do go belly up, but for me, I'm all in. I'm all in.
That's really well said.
I would say much the same. Sleepin was talking about value before, and something that I noticed in Pokemon is that the price and value are completely different. The price is what you pay of something, and the value is what you get. I saw that with a lot of cards, not just the big one, the Trophy Kangaskhan, but I saw with a lot of even PSA 9s. Like I feel like a lot of people focus on the grails, and Dr. Stuff, you mentioned Bored Apes, saying like, hey, I think this one, the top one, buy it for an ETH, and within 5 months that sold for, over $1 million. I'm not saying the gold and silver logo will do that, but you had 10,000 of those, Bored Apes. You have like 160 of the secret rare Miles Morales. You have less than 1,000 of the secret rare Spider-Man in general. And Dr. Profit owns, I think, like 90 of them. So you have even less than that. There's all of these first IPs on the blockchain. And then you do have, again, only thing with utility is the gold and silver logo. We've seen that double over the last couple months. I think the value of some of these is so great, and the price is just insanely cheap, even though it has doubled. And you'll see a bunch of these double and triple again. But as far as OMI is concerned, why I know Veve is going to do so well outside of all the reasons you guys gave is because you have someone like, I'm an OMI maxi. I think OMI will outperform pretty much everything on the app. But even before, I bought a number 42 Human Torch for $250. I should have put that $250 into OMI, because that $250 I think will go to 25,000. It does 100x, which I think it will. That Human Torch is not going anywhere near $25,000. It might go to a couple grand because it's the second lowest mint that you could possibly get, and he's a super cool character. They'll do a Fantastic Four movie in 2026 after the X-Men movie, or I think that'll happen first before the X-Men movie. But I continuously buy stuff all day on Veve, even though I know that OMI's probably going to outperform everything on there, and it's stupid of me to do that. But
it's addictive.
Yeah, but and even like my newer whale. If you guys I wish you guys would come to New York Comic Con. My newer whale he's got an addiction. Like, he'll message me at like 12 at night, be like, Chavez, look what I just bought, and he just buys sub 100s of like everything that he doesn't need. Yeah. By the way, New York Comic Con. I wish you guys would come. I'll shoot you guys a message in the group chat, whatever things that are going down. I'm not too tipsy, but
so I want to touch on that gold and silver logo, because it's funny because some people are like, oh, Randy's pumping the logo and he's trying to pump his own bags, and I'm like, no, well, he had you have two. I think you have two, right?
Yeah, two.
Yeah, you have. I'm like, really pumping his bags. I'm like, he's talking about the utility, and let me tell you something about how important this is. So obviously, David Yu has made this gold and silver logo his baby, right? Like, this is something that's very important to him. So from a guy who is a master collector level 10,000, and he's saying, this for me is very important, and I'm going to reward the holders. And here we have the CEO of a company saying this, and all of these resources, he can add whatever utility he wants. So the sky is the limit for the utility. And right now it is some physical things and some digital, and that's great, right? But what if OMI is pulling in 5 billion a year, 10 billion a year? Like, there is the possibility, right, that all of a sudden that utility that he offers, the things that he's offering physical, become a bigger deal. And maybe not, right? Maybe not. But for me, that was enough for me to say, I want to be a part of that group. And I'll tell you what, the gold and silver logo fam is so awesome. They are so warm and welcoming and fun, intelligent. So I bought in, like, and I'm sold.
How dare you pump your bags, locked up stuff? How dare you?
Yeah. Look, I've got one I'm not selling. So like when I say pump my bags, like,
I want to get in. How much is it?
Yeah.
How much is it?
It's like $6,900 now. Everyone comment nice down below with 69.
Yeah, nice.
You might get, so I think one of two things happens after the 12th, where you have that major party. You either have one or two people that went to be like, hey, this was cool, I got my redemption stuff, now let me offload this for, you know, 6,500 or 6K. Or you could have people like that day at the party, especially when everyone's drunk. They're going to so I'll say that one, it's a more of a high-end place. Veve, so this is very much Veve's party, but Veve is not paying a dime for this. This was all rented out by Funko. Funko is the one that went and just rented out this entire space. And this is, David had mentioned, I don't know how much I should say. I only expect 400 to 500 Veve peeps there, if that, but I think that's a good amount. David expects a couple hundred more than that. And I don't think all of them are going to be Veve fam. I think they're going to be, again, New York. Everyone wants to have an excuse to go to New York. Ric Flair, saying a bunch of these wrestlers that haven't wrestled in a long time, they go and do house shows in Long Island because it's 45 minutes away from New York City, that major metropolis. So if you get to go and their licensors want to go meet them there, I think there's a very good chance that the extra people that are not Veve fam are going to be licensors, or might be like, you have that, Veve's been retweeting the NFL, and you have Eli Manning at the Marvel booth literally the same day as the thing. So I feel like there might be one or two celebrities there. So you could have people like, if this is what the Veve parties are going to be like, and that's why Bored Ape Yacht Club went to the freaking moons, because you got to party with all of these people. I feel like there's going to be more logos bought that night, like from people that are there. That's just my opinion. And that's just for the parties, not including the network you get access to. Dave and Dan you see multiple times a year. So that's invaluable to me.
Agreed. Yeah. I'm definitely looking for, man, I hope David, Dan, Rev, Alex G. I mean, I know you probably don't have to say it, but please come to DCon. So I assumed, because Veve had come multiple years to DCon, that was the one thing that no matter what, they were always going to do, and a terrible assumption on my part. So I planned a trip. I'm going to be in the Great Smoky Mountains hiking with the fam during New York Comic Con. Like, I can't back out of it. And I don't want to. I'm really excited for that time, but
hiking.
That party sounds amazing. And so, but if they come, like, just that ability to have a one-on-one, or like with Dan or David and the team, in a very small, because I was there at DCon last time, right? And everyone was trying to talk to him all the time. Like, there's so many people, but to have it in a smaller venue where he's recognizing you're a gold and silver logo holder, I'm going to pay you, like, give you my attention on that. That is very meaningful.
Awesome. I just want to do a couple shout outs. Number one, we have 147 people watching live.
That is awesome.
It's awesome. We're almost hitting the 150 mark. And the second thing I have completely forgotten. So we'll
I love you so much, man.
Well, it would be really cool if they start bringing some of these cons to Australia.
Yeah.
We hit 150. I don't know how that happened. Magic.
Oh,
yeah.
Magic. The universe heard, right? The universe heard, and people like, I got to click now.
Yeah, exactly. People just happen to randomly click.
Hey, there's me.
Yeah. Go for Randy. I'll try and remember what I was going to say.
smash the like button if you guys haven't done that already, right? And make sure that you're following. I'm trying to do this. Each and every person here, right? They have channels and on the socials. Because if you like what you're hearing and you believe that what we are educating you, I think that there's a lot of people who could benefit from the experience of some of the people on this panel, right? And what they've been through. Man, Sleeping, it's awesome to hear a lot of that story, right? And the entrepreneurship it does take a certain individual to be able to take that risk, right? And be willing to bet on themselves. But man, those entrepreneurs that do that and are successful, they're the multimillionaires. And it's funny because some of those entrepreneurs, they're multimillionaires, they lose it all, and then they get it back again because they're like, I've done it before, right? And it is a mindset.
I know a couple of those.
Yeah, but that's so powerful. And it demonstrates that honestly, like if you're willing to put in the work and bet on yourself and think outside the box, right? You can't continue to do what your competitors are doing. You got to say, how am I different, right? And so when I look at Veve and what they are doing, some of it's the same, but they started out before anyone. They were talking about digital collectibles and going to all these IPs. I wish I could be a fly in the room when they're sitting for Marvel and pitching it to Marvel for the first time, and they're like, digital collectibles? Get out.
Who's going to buy this?
Well, I think, there was digital comics. They've been around for a long time. And then they had a bunch of it for years. They had these comics where you could go and they get this thing in the back and you could, redeem it for a digital version of the comic. But it's the blockchain NFT technology that allows for them to create scarcity. Before it's just, I don't even know how many of those digital, and there's no marketplace. It's the tech has to be right. So what? You have digital comics, technically speaking, they've been around for a long, PDFs, right? You know what I mean? JPEGs, what? So it's the blockchain tech. I mean, you guys understand, but it's all this working together. And that's what, and some of the other people I'm talking to, physical comic book or physical collectors, they're like, wait a minute, we've had digital comics for years. I'm like, we have, but this is different. Why is it different? And so then you explain it to them, right? This is the time. The tech has finally reached this point in time, and it was not there 2-3 years ago. And people are like, what, huh? They don't understand that these things take time.
I remembered what it was, guys. It's pretty important. David Yu has confirmed he's going to come on Around the Comiverse, and we have a time booked. I won't reveal the time yet, just in case he can't make it. But yeah, definitely make sure you watch every week this month. Here we go.
Yeah, there you go. I like that, right? Leaving a little carrot dangling, and they've got to come to it. Look, regardless of when David comes on, you got these legends up here that man are just, they've had success, and that's the thing I think is so important. You listen to a lot of YouTubers, and they might be great at being sensationalists, right? And great. What are those called? Creating clickbait, right? And right, and kind of putting on a show, and that can be fun, that can be entertaining. But when it comes to investments, right, and none of this is financial advice, because like I put on my big boy pants and I'm going to be responsible for my own decisions, but I want to listen to the people who've already been successful in life and at least get their mindset on things. And I might disagree with something, right? But I want to be listening to the people who have done it before, as opposed to the people who just put on a good production, but have never really been successful, right? And we look at the likes of BitBoy. That guy was never an investor, right? He put on a good production, and it's fun. It's fun to watch, right? But how many people did he wreck? And he didn't care. Right, and he got caught with that when Zach XBT basically did that analysis of him shilling tokens that he was getting paid for and dumping it on his subscribers. Right, like we believe in this, and yeah, at some point will we be selling OMI? Of course, because there's going to be utility to it, and other people will want to use it. They're going to buy it to want to use it, right? And sure, even to hold too, but that's I just appreciate the knowledge that this space continues to have, like around the Comiverse and the people that are on there. But definitely looking forward to David, and congrats for landing that. That's massive, Jordan.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Dr. Stuff.
I think the biggest thing is, and it's back to this kind of theme that we've been going with, which I think Rain kind of brought up, which is good, is kind of what separates people that are interested in investing and people who aren't. And it does come down to this kind of belief in yourself, because when you're in a speculative environment, obviously you need to be careful, as we talked about, but you truly do need to do your own research. It's such a cliche, but you should. And yet a lot of times especially myself, I may not have the technical expertise to do that level of research. That's why I mined Bitcoin, because I needed to understand, is this actually even real? Like, you know what I mean? So that's where, and that's why I have done a lot of, you know, I'm a tech guy. So that's why I have done a lot of my own research into developing my own NFT project. What would that look like? Other things, so that if just to like understand what these things are, to evaluate it all, so that once again, cliche, can I do my own research? And then of course, as you noted, Doctor, some of the other stuff in my past and other things does give me somewhat of a feel for the business, the opportunity, you know, and, you know, Veve smells pretty good. It just does. And let me just add one other thing about the Bored Apes. I mean, sometimes I see things and I was like, oh, I was right there. I could have been a part of that. I just, for whatever reason, maybe I didn't have the liquidity, whatever, but I saw it. And I always think to myself, that's good. I was right there. I could have hit that home run. That's okay. I missed some, you know, it's fine, right? But for example, Bored Apes, I never even knew about it. I never would have done it. Even if I saw or knew it, I never would have done it. That's one I never would have done, because it's not my style, because it's a new IP. I didn't understand it. It seemed like a lot of hype at the time. I did not, you know, and maybe it's just because I didn't do enough research. I never feel bad about that one. But this one, when someone were to come to me, and we all know the things, you know, here's a Web3 company. They're the, you know, number one in the sector. They're making money. It's a bear market. All the things we talk about, and they have got these, you know, IPs, you know, et cetera, et cetera. It does smell quite good. And people ask me, you know, why do you stay in? Why do you keep buying comics? Why do you still keep your OMI? And that's why. Mm-hmm. Until it smells bad, and I'll be the first one to go on my YouTube channel, and I've said this to people: if it smells bad, I will be the first guy on my YouTube saying, I've decided to sell everything. It smells bad.
So I said that back in March of this year, when, you know, they had promised us a Veveverse at the end of last year, and then Mitch came on, you know, and he's like, hey, they kind of made this big hurrah of Mitch coming on and how important it was going to be, and he made this promise, and it didn't happen. And I said, look, I want to give him some time. I know that it takes time to come over a team, especially if things haven't been run right, and change the culture. That takes time. And I said, but if I don't see some improvement by the end of June, I think it was, then I will start saying on my channel, I'm concerned, and here's why, right? But I'm like, I want to give him till the end of June. Well, before the end of June, right, we got master collector points, and I mean, not that we can use them yet, but they started that calculation. We saw the burning and crafting. They started implementing all of these things that they've been promising. And it's so funny, because then people are like, oh, well, they haven't done this, so like, why aren't you now trashing Veve? And I said, because I'm seeing improvement, and that's what I've been waiting for. But I will. Look, I have my money in this. I have real money in this. And I do believe that people listen to what I'm saying, at least to inform themselves more. And I'm with you, Sleep, in that if I see red flags, I absolutely will bring those up, because I'm not going to leave anyone else hanging. I'm telling you what I'm doing right now. I'm buying this stuff. And if I stop buying it, I'm going to say the same thing, you know? So, yeah.
When Sleepin was mentioning, hey, you have to believe in yourself, invest in yourself, and research on your own. Yes, you definitely need to do that. But I think it's also important to recognize your own limits and say, like, okay, when is somebody better than you? And looking at a lot of these CEOs, you know, Elon Musk or, you know, David and Dan, that are working like 18 hours a day, and they've continued to do so with relatively little wear on their body. I mean, they're probably hiding it. They didn't wear it well, but those are the people I want working on my, like, give me $1 million to invest in me or invest in them. No, invest in them. You know, they have what, like it used to just be a couple of people working on OMI. Now it's several people working on OMI. their power and knowledge and connection intelligence is far greater than my own, I'll give them all my money all day. And that's partly why I feel a bit more safe. Like it's not me doing 100% effort on one thing. It's me knowing enough that a whole bunch of people are giving their 100% on it. So.
Yeah, just talking about the chance of things going badly. I feel like we're at a point now where like Veve has grown to be quite robust. It's got like a very strong community now. We've gone through the worst of the FUD and the bear market. OMI token has hit its very lowest during this bear market, in my opinion. Not financial advice, but it was at 0.00055, 0.006. 5.6. I was calling that as the bottom. I called it 2 or 3 times on the.
Why didn't I buy it then?
That's right. And God's Entry and other people were saying it could go to 0.004, and many people were calling for that. And now we're pumping pretty close to 0.009, and soon we'll be out of the 0.000s. And I believe 100% that when we're out of 0.000s this time, it'll be the last time, because we're going to go up so much higher than that. When we come down, it's going to be at a higher low, in my opinion. So I feel like if I again also agree that we should always share what we see as issues or problems, and I feel like we've gone through the worst of the worst now, and we're almost we're climbing the top of that that ride, the roller coaster ride, and it's just slowly creeping up, and so we've got we're on the way up, guys. That's what I believe, and it's been really fun, and the people have stuck around. It has been pretty difficult. I'm really lucky to have this group of guys that we get to talk every week with, and girls. Queen Veve, Veve Magic. There's a few girls that have come on here. Queen Veve's coming on next week, guys. Laurie
Yes.
Brenner. So make sure you check that out as well. And it's just so much fun having you guys on every week. And I probably want to wrap this up in about 10 minutes or so. So if everyone can go around and give us their last thoughts, we'll work on closing this show out with a bang.
Who are we starting with?
Rain, do you want to go first?
Sure. Like, we've all wanted that opportunity where we had a chance to buy Google, say at the IPO or whatever, right? How would it be if you had been able to buy Google before the IPO, but you weren't let in that room? Why? Because you weren't what is an institutional investor. You weren't an accredited investor. You weren't let in that room. And crypto has lowered that barrier, so you can get into projects way earlier. The problem with that is 70% of the crypto space is complete shit, and stay away from it. 30% are good ideas, which may or may not make it, depending on how good the team is and can they withstand the bear market. So research is required. So just like the video game, it's about figuring out how to minimize your risk while maximizing your good bets and finding the good bets and then taking them big. However, there's a reason people ask me all the time to tell them what to do on stuff, and I won't, because I'm about people becoming good. Because say I had a magic crystal ball and I told you exactly what to buy because I could see the future, and you made $5 million, you would lose it because you don't know how to manage $5 million. And then you would not have the ability to make it again because you learned nothing. So what if you tune into this like you're in school and you decide this is going to be your school for massive financial success over the coming 5 to 8 years? And if you've already been with us for 3, then you might not have even all that much left. But imagine this was your school and you took this deadly serious as the thing that would retire you, and you could learn to become an incredible investor so that even if you lost, you took some bets and lost, you can make it again because the skills you developed in the process is what changed you. That's what you're here for. This is why so many people don't make money in crypto, is I've really been thinking on that problem. It's because they don't realize they have to build themselves. They think they can try crypto, throw a few $100s in, and it might turn into 10 million. And it doesn't work that way. In the few cases where they got really lucky and they ended up with like $5 million, they lost it because they didn't know what they were doing, and they had no idea how to remake it because they never learned what they were doing. They just got lucky. I don't know about you, but this is too important to me to just rely on luck. And that's why when in 2017, by 2018, I really realized what crypto was all about and the cycles, and knew, even though I was still so new and didn't fully know what I was doing, and my investment experience from prior to that helped, but you're always bad before you're good. I knew I was grabbing a hold of this thing, and I would not let go for my life, because I've been waiting my whole life for this. And I was not going to let this opportunity pass me by, because I knew it would change my life financially. I don't show a lot of money yet. That's just because I'm a saver like crazy. Now, this next bull market, I will. And you will see crazy lifestyle changes. I could have already done some of that. I chose not to, because I'm all about being at 40 million, 100 million, 200 million. And so why spend your gains too early? You need that money to roll it into higher things. Then more people will listen, because some have to see that in order to listen. It's unfortunate they have to. I don't. I just have to hear the right things. And when I heard the right things and saw the right things in 2017, 2018, I knew this was something I would give my life to, because this was the most important technology change I had ever caught early, and knew that I had a chance to make significant wealth. And I was not going to let go of that for anything. But with that becoming good. And guess what? When I was new, I made a lot of dumb decisions. A higher percentage of the projects I invested in back then failed, because I was just new, and you're bad before you're good. And there's a learning process. Yes, you can speed it up by learning from those that are experienced. You're still going to go through some of that learning process. There's no way to completely get rid of that. You can shorten it. So realize where you are, and that most are going to treat this like some kind of casino thing. And that's okay. You can try to help them see it, but some know that this was what they're looking for. And that's who I'm looking for. I'm looking for those people that are hungry. When they hear this kind of opportunity, they're like, yes, this is what I want. And oh my gosh, and I am going to do everything not to let this pass me by, because they're the ones that are going to change their life financially. They're going to change their children's lives. They're going to change their future completely, because they're going to change themselves. They're going to become solid and shakable investors, and learn how to make educated decisions, so they stack the risk really low with the rewards really high, and then they roll the dice, because it still is a guess. It's an educated guess. It's just a guess. And so that's exciting. That's what we have in front of us. I know I'm preaching to the choir to many of you. You've already been here for years. And you're going to see these rewards come, and you're going to find new problems. You're going to find it's weird the first time you have $1 million or $2 or $3 million that you're going to make some poor decisions your first time. That's all right. Keep sticking around, keep learning and growing. Your second time, as long as you don't blow all that money and you don't have to start from scratch, you're going to hit even higher than that. And then you'll probably even be ready for it.
Awesome. Sleeping Comics, did you want to go next?
I'll repeat what he says. No, no, that's great. I agree 100% with you, Rain, and thanks for having me on. No, it's just fun. It's fun to talk about Veve. It's fun to talk about the new tech. I really do think we're in the right place. Thanks for and really everybody in the chat. We're all, I think anybody that's left now, these are the people, these are the true believers, right? There'll be new people. And that's exciting too, and they'll be able to come along with us on the journey. But for me, I feel like the bear market, which really started, I feel like maybe 6, 8, 9, 10 months ago, in terms of people started really dropping off, and people were really mad, and all these other things, right? And that's okay, because now the people that I'm talking to, the people that are interacting with me on my channel, you guys, other people, we're the people that. We could be wrong, right? It's an educated guess. That's what Rain said, right? But man, like I said, it still smells pretty good. So thanks for having me on, Jordan.
Awesome, Sleeping. Like, it's been really fun having you on. You definitely match well with everyone. We've had an awesome show today, and yeah, anytime you want to come back, just let me know, man. You're welcome.
I love your videos, Sleep, and you do such a fantastic job analyzing the comic and just all the factors that I look at. It's like crack cocaine to me when I watch your videos, because those are all the questions I would want to know, but I don't have your comic background experience for it. So when I listen to them, I just soak it in. I'm like, I'm so glad you know all this stuff, because I don't know it. So I'm able to leverage your depth of knowledge by following your videos and watching them. And I love it. Thank you.
Awesome. Randy?
There was so weird. I don't know why I thought of this. There was a TED Talk years back that said everyone likes classical music, but many just don't know it yet. And I feel like that's a lot. Like people here, like I don't have a lot of people in my real life to talk to about this. My new whale that I work with, but a lot of other people, even like the nerds that I live with, they're just like they like the physical stuff. They like stuff that you could feel. But I see like the basement is filled with Christmas ornaments and action figures, and like, oh, wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't it be so much easier if you could just buy a bunch of stuff and it doesn't take up as much room? I feel like when they have kids, they'll kind of feel that. But the world is not going to go backwards. I've seen this before from people saying like, oh, back in the 80s, 90s, so much better. You had conversations with people, and people weren't in their phones all the time. And okay, I get that that was one of the perks of back then. And now it seems like we're going farther into that. We're going inward. We're going into that microverse where you had Lex Friedman interview Mark Zuckerberg on that in the metaverse. It was wild.
That was an awesome one. That was an awesome. If anyone didn't see that, make sure they check it out. Mark Zuckerberg and Lex Friedman in VR, like in the metaverse, basically. Keep going, Randy. Sorry.
No, you're good. And that's not going to stop. Like the rate of progression is going to keep going forward, especially as more and more people figure out how much money there is in this. Again, at NFT NYC last year, Rain and Dr. Stuff were there, and they could tell like, oh, hey, all of these different projects that raised a couple $1 million, they thought they were going to be the next big thing just because they were NFTs. And the VCs that went and said, oh, you're into NFTs, you're on the blockchain, and they go and say a bunch of keywords that the VCs don't understand, like, oh, done, couple $1 million, but they didn't have a working product. And I didn't take any of those job offers. I imagine you guys got a bunch as well. There's no, because of that. So watch who you follow, or watch who you listen to. Are people, are their complaints or are their concerns justifiable, and are they legitimate? Or are they just trying to whine and FUD? And okay, well, what do they have in their life? Again, if you don't listen to me, which again, I know what I look like, listen to anyone on this panel or any other person that is successful in life, intelligent, and they'll take you to the promised land. Not financial advice, but again, if you don't want it from me, like listen to other intelligent people that are already wealthy. You do what they do, there's a decent chance that you might one day have what they have. You listen to your poorer friends, and one last thing, I know I'm going on really long. The average, take your top 5 people you spend the most time with, average their incomes together. That's most likely your income. Oh, if you want to spend a little more time with people that are a little more wealthy and get that up there, get that gold and silver logo. Not financial advice. Anyway, guys, that's it for me. Dr. Stuff, curious to hear.
Well, I've loved all the comments so far, and Sleepin, want to thank you for coming on and just appreciate your insight and your background, and congrats on the 5K followers on Twitter. I know that's going to just continue to go up, because you do add a lot of, I think it's so important in this space to try to keep a level head. And that's where I listen to the FUD a lot of times, right? Like the people who just are there to attack and to stir the pot, they're useless to me, right? And those people I definitely tune out. But the people who are bringing up real concerns, I listen to that, because I'm like, I want to make sure that I am not missing something. I think that's very important to keep a level head. But it's also, like Randy was saying, if you have a lot of people kind of saying the same things, right, and making sure that it's not an echo chamber, but it's like, okay, well, these people are coming from this background or this background or this background, and they're coming to the same conclusion. This seems to make a lot of sense, and I love that, right? And again, I look at what Veve is doing with that Funko partnership, and they've got so much more in store. That digital, that's another revenue stream for them, right? In that people are going to like, and I don't know how. Obviously, I'd have to see the contract, but do they get a portion of the physical sales? And maybe they don't. But even if they don't, just the Funko population of Funko fans that are going to look at this and get exposure to that is massive. They're starting to do marketing, but they're doing it smart, right? When they're saying, hey, we're going to give these 3 people, you tweet out to your the people that you tag people, and it's branching out to the people who already know Veve, and they're saying reach out to you who and try to bring them in. And if you do, you can win an Aladdin or you can win one of these digital collectibles, right? That's a form of marketing, and they're trying to do it organically by getting the people who already love it and know it to show it to their friends and family and start tagging them. I think that's very smart to grow organically. We see that they're obviously sharing a booth with Marvel, and Marvel has a while ago announced that they're signing that 8-year contract with them, right? Didn't they extend that to like 8 years?
Exclusive.
Exclusive. Why would they do that, right? This is a multi-billion-dollar company that is saying, we want to tie ourselves to you for the long term. That's substantial. These are the types of things that I'm looking for. And so when I look at Q4, I know that people have been concerned about exchanges. They will come. They will come. At some point, they will come. When they've hired a blockchain team to work on interoperability in the OMI token, it will come. And those are the types of things that when Sleepin was working through, and I love that mental progression that we got to see in live time when he's like, oh, they won't do these rare and ultra rare comics. Let's work through it logically. And then he talked him back in. He's like, you know what? Actually, this could make sense. I think that if you just sit down logically and say, does it make sense that they will work towards additional exchanges? Absolutely. Right. But it's got to make sense as to when they do that. And there's still some regulatory uncertainty. So I just appreciate everyone who's here. I think that you guys have shown the mental fortitude to stick through when so many people have checked out. And I have to attribute some of that to the community. So shout out to the Veve community, because that's one of the reasons that people have stayed, is because they've really found friendships and within this community. And that's another thing that adds to Veve, is Veve has this power to bring people together, right? Based on fandom initially. And then they it's so powerful, guys. So I'm grateful you're here. I'm grateful to be on around the Veveverse as always. And I appreciate you, fam.
Awesome. Thanks so
we
much.
We do have Sleepin. Can we get a pick from Sleepin? What is your top favorite presently undervalued comic that you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe the price on this?
Not financial advice.
Okay. All right. I have his notes here for my next video.
Okay. Next.
I like that. I like that.
All right, here we go. You ready? I mean, literally, I have these notes here. Okay. Here's my one. Marvel preview number 4.
All right.
First appearance with Star-Lord.
Okay.
The common.
What's the price pump?
The common is at like $3, $3.50.
It's called Marvel Preview.
Number 4.
Marvel.
It's the first appearance of Star-Lord. Okay. So Star-Lord is on the front cover, and it's a gorgeous cover. The only reason why I say that is sometimes you have first appearances and they're not on the cover, or the cover sucks. Like Strange Tales 110. That's the first appearance of Doctor Strange. That cover sucks, basically. Sorry. I'm just, so anyways, Star-Lord's on the front, on the cover. It's a gorgeous cover. It's a 10,000 run, except for some reason they priced it at $10 a copy, and so it didn't sell out. Yes, thank you, Randy. So I still think there's 1,500, and I don't know if it's going to sell out, because why would you buy one when the commons are selling for $3 and $4? You're not going to spend the $10 because people can do math. Mm-hmm. So it might not sell out. They might end up burning it, which means there's less of them. But even if there's 6,000, I think the first appearance of Star-Lord is a good one to get for $3 to $4. On top of the fact that he's coming back. Sorry, spoiler alert. If you went to see Guardians of the Galaxy 3, at the end, it said Star-Lord will return. So there's my pick for you.
Awesome. Fantastic. I just bought 3 of them.
I got one.
Pumping the price. Love it. No worries. Well, thanks so much for coming around, guys. I really appreciate all of your time here, and I always have such a fun show. And yeah, I really enjoy that we get to put this show on for others, but we're also having fun too. So everyone wins, right? The community wins, Veve wins, Akomi wins, OMI token wins. We all have fun. Obviously it takes up some of our time that we can't spend with our family, but other than that, it's all winning. So yeah, thanks so much for coming on, and make sure you stay tuned for next week. See you guys.
Guys, hang on after the show. Dashi has something to say. Bye, Dashi. Oh, bye.
See everyone.